Born on this planet Earth, you're born with a ticket to the freak show. Born in the US of A, you got a front row seat. All I can say is, what the frackin' Trump? That's my new term. Frackin' Trump. Frackin' Trump and whatever. you know. And, that's what Donnie's good for. I really love Donnie because he is the X-lax to the body politic, right? And he's emptying out the colon of the deep state. But he says, I'm not going to hire anybody who's, on a bank. But you look at his freaking cabinet, everyone's from Chase Manhattan or, some frigging bank that got bailed out in '08 to the tune of $1 trillion. And all those guys got their benefits and their bonuses. They didn't lose any money. They didn't lose their house. Ugh. So this morning's chat was interesting. That was kind of fun. It was a dual-edged one. Started out there in the snow. Really pretty. Cold, icy. Can't go anywhere. I'm going on day number 3, mano-a-mano with JB. And this morning was great because I just did it for the first, part. I did it for, 15 minutes, and then he kept going. And he was great. He was rapping, he was singing, he was dancing, he was Gene Kelly. And, and then he did that for about an hour. He rapped for an hour straight. It was pretty amazing. And I made the fire, and I liked how I forgot who commented that all of a sudden fire. There's no fire, and then all of a sudden it's a raging fire. Well, that's the we're taking a whole year of being the firekeeper in a Hambu for my Putney, Vermont Shinto master. I learned how to start a fire in a wood stove and without anything. No big deal. Just bing, there it is. It just takes a little prayer and dry matches and kindling and newspaper. When I go to the supermarket and they have that big stack of flyers of what hamburger's on for sale, and it's got 4 or 5 pages of coupons. Well, I grab a whole stack because they are just the perfect weight of paper and have just enough toxic chemicals to burst into flame. And as long as they're not wet, you kind of crumple them up, right? And then you put a couple of strips of cardboard on top of them, and then you sprinkle a few dry kindling. And kindling is you go out to the forest, the picture today, the forest, just like right there. You pick up the limbs and the twigs, you break them up, put them in a box, they dry up, you put them on top of that cardboard, then you put a big log on one side, and then you lean smaller little logs over that little pile of the paper, the cardboard, the kindling, and then just one match, poof, right? And then you have a little piece of cardboard that you kind of fan it, and then once it catches, that's it. You don't have to worry, especially at the wood stove. Once you get that flue heated up, that's the one thing that can be a problem. If you don't get it hot enough in the first couple minutes and your kindling burns out, well, then you got to start over again. But even if you do, there you go. You've just heated up the flue. But so it's pretty simple. All it takes is keeping your eye on the ball. And that's one of our major things we're going to be going over, you know, keeping our eye on the ball, right? And in our guided meditations, that's what we do. We focus our conscious mind on our breath, quiet down the chipmunk and the squirrel in the cage, and put the monkey to sleep, right? So that's where we're at. And we're doing really great. Everyone's doing really fine. The other night when we visited Satan in his corporate headquarters, that was quite extravagant. And you guys kind of, you're getting the real picture of that everything. I was just watching, Neil deGrasse Tress and whatever. He's just another, he's like the black version of Carl Sagan, meaning he's totally owned by the, you know, powers that shouldn't be. Anybody who says, "Oh, NASA's the greatest thing," it's bringing. Oh no, sorry. It's just if you're talking that way, that's like you're just talking about another religion. I saw him on Bill Maher's, and Bill Maher is like totally, anti. He made a movie called Religiosity, I think. Anyway, and you know, all these folks, and Donald Trump too. They don't go far enough. They don't really, Donald, fake news. Well, he's right, but he should say news has been fake since, you know, back in Babylon days. Because whatever newspaper or, piece of stone that they chink, 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 someone once asked Thucydides, who is the father of written history, Thucydides, what's written history? He says, whatever the Romans pay me to write. So that's fake news, right? Orwell talks about, newspeak, fake news, propaganda, the Tavistock Institute, go check those guys out in England, right? They started every institutional, like the Council on Foreign Relations, Club of Rome, um, you know, Council of 300, the Builders Group, there's all, Tavistock Institute is like their guru. So the only thing that really matters is love's co-creation. That's the only thing that's true. Everything else is an illusion. And if you tie yourself up to that, if you stick yourself in that flypaper, well, that's where you're going to be for the next umpteen gazillion centuries, stuck in the same. Oh, why is it my mommy's fault and daddy hurt me and blah 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 blah. No, sorry. We all have our own lives. We all rule our own lives. Pretty much everything we do in this illusion world, we have a free will. We have a choice, And if you're awake like Buddha, the drunken traveler saw Buddha illuminated by the side of the road and go, "Hey man, are you God?" And Buddha goes, "No." "Well, man, what are you?" And Buddha said, "I'm awake." So that's what we're here to do at Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Alba. I'm doing these twice a day because this is a classroom, right? And really don't know how long I'm going to be here. I could like be your Sensei Alba could be where'd it go, right? People don't realize I look pretty good. I sure do. Yes, yes. But there are a lot of things, I let myself go for 20 years, living in the bathtub of chocolate mousse, you gain 270 pounds over than what you should be weighing. That's not a good thing. And I made my way back, and I'm, alive every morning. I wake up, thank God. But I basically burn things out in my body. 50 years of being an electrician, all my joints are fried, and I can't lift my hands above this, no matter how many weights I lift. And I can't. I mean, I don't know if you saw me on John's, bodybuilding thing this morning. I had a little 15-pound barbell he had, and I sat down and I put it on my leg, and I lifted it just a few inches off my leg. And I was doing it in such a way so it was putting stress on everything my hand, my wrist, my forearm, my elbow, my upper arm, my shoulder, my traps, my neck, and that was good. I did that, for about 5 minutes. About 3 minutes on one arm and about 3 minutes on the other, and that was good. I can feel, I actually felt good for doing that, and I'll probably do that. I'll try and do it every day, right? But that's all I need. I can't, he was hefting those 50-pound barbells. I can't even lift them off the floor. So, and it's, oh, if you only tried, if you only let, no, sorry. And that's me. I mean, if someone comes and gets me and, gets me out of here and takes me someplace warm or someplace where, some town that we could go have a good time, some college town that we could, rustle up some fun, make people think, and then take it from there, I just need two or three people, who write, and spell pretty well that can make a flyer that people don't go, what is this? And, someone who plays an instrument, but is not like crazy. And all three. I mean, you can be like me, idiosyncratic, but not neurotic, right? You can be esoteric, but not selfish. Whenever we come together, we have to all for one and one for all, the three musketeers, plus whoever else is going along for the ride. And then it's going to be fun. Then it's going to be no problem. Then everything's going to be smooth as silk. And we're going to have some exciting times. So that's what I'm working for. That's why I'm doing this, That's why I care so much about you guys, So, there you are. There's all your messages. Just had to hit that little button. Let's see, people are, let's see. The Freak Show. Yep, that's it. A snowy day, it was okay. The beginning part was great. John was in a good mood. He did a live chat and he rapped for a whole hour, which was pretty amazing. But then he got a little bummed out in the afternoon, and I thought it was going to be, again, have to look for some place to stay. But our driveway, our 2-mile long driveway, is one long sheet of ice, 2 inches thick. So until it gets, 40, 50 degrees or it rains, not going nowhere. So we're our third day together. Now, I've been cooking them some pretty amazing meals and hoping that that works. And they're really healthy. There's no, meat or, no rice, no this, no that. Everything's basically vegetables and spices and whole grains. Right? My favorite whole grain is steel cut oatmeal. Yes, I think I told you guys about how I went to Hawaii, the Big Island, and there was a leopard colony there. Not only was there a leopard colony there, but there were leopards who were blind, deaf, and mute. And they were pretty amazing people because they had, I was telling you about how my sensei used to have us walk in the forest at 3 in the morning. And if you weren't aware, if you weren't awake, if you didn't have your field out, you'd like walk off a cliff or get a branch in your eye or up your nose. Well, this group of blind, deaf, mute leopards were telepathic. That was kind of interesting, right? And everybody in this place was truly amazing. They were like, from another time, another planet, another species. I mean, their essence of unconditional love was unbelievable. And their ability to communicate was unbelievable. And their sense of humor was unbelievable. And I met them every day. I meet them every day. Really? Hey, they're dragon. So Eden, where do you work at a place, or do you live at that place on the Big Island in Hawaii? Namaste, dragon. Okay, let's keep going. So anyway, that crew on the Big Island in Hawaii, and that was a good 30 plus years that I was there. But the Big Island is very interesting because there's nothing. I mean, it's big, it's beautiful, but there's not much there, right? Because every time they try to do something there, Pele just eats it alive. Except for this one place, and you had to walk there too. That was the other interesting thing. I don't know if they got a road there now, but we had to kind of pack in there, and it was an interesting place, and those were interesting people. And like I said, they definitely were, because I've met three different indigenous tribes, two in Brazil and one I'm not supposed to say. So two in Brazil and the other one I'm not supposed to say. But I was the only white, the first white guy these three guys met. So there was no point of contact. I mean, I hung with indigenous folk out in the middle of the forest who were deep forest folk, but they were still wearing "I Love New York" T-shirts and wearing Nikes. So those three clans that I lived with were all wearing a grass skirt, meaning they were not touched whatsoever by white folk. And when I showed up there, I was quite a surprise. I never saw a guy like me, but they knew I was coming. They were prepared. They all had the cup of tea and the sandwich ready for me. So, but it took. I mean, we were instantly connected, but it took about a week. I would point at something. They would say what it was in their language. I say what it was in mine. And, we got to a point where, again, we were telepathic. Meaning, yes, we would say words, but, I had no idea if I was saying the word right or the way they were saying they were, I was understanding it like ear to card catalog. But when they would make that sound, I would see it, right? More telepathically than, intellectually. And, when we are taking like DMT, or our brain is pushing it out, that's the kind of connections we have, when I do mushrooms, I kind of have that connection. When I smoke just a little bit of Gerd Chiba, that's the kind of psychotropic experience I have. And when I go into state, I'm right there. So this is something important and interesting. Okay, so am I still here? Or I'm losing characters here. We were about 8 or 9, and now we're down to 5. So you guys hearing me? Am I here? Can you hear me? What about the Australian folk? We are here. Okay, Australian folk, right? The Wallamajiri. Again, if you go to my blog spot, my xratted.blogspot.com, you will see the whole story, right? And again, these things go away longer than you think they are. The connections, all the little threads, all the little fibers. So I've always been in, I've always been interested in the clans, the tribes, the indigenous folk. And that's because one of my past lives, I was a Lakota. Really, I mean, every time I hear Bernie Tauplin's song sung by Elton John, Indian Sunset, I go right there. As I was walking through the smoke, burning, as it was clinging to I went to see my chieftain with my war lance and my woman. Right? I'm right there. So I meet Neil. I was building Xenons, the disco, for Tony Two Toes and Bobby Bentnose, and the deal. I mean, it was all pretty much done, but nothing worked. And no matter how, because they had about 6 different electricians doing it. Electricians, we're the real cheeky monkeys of the trade. We get some money to start a job, we start it up, and then somebody gives us some other money to start another job, we start that, and we put a couple guys on the other job, and we then spread ourselves thin, so it takes longer, costs more, and that's kind of what electricians do. And, it's an inside game. If you're a licensed electrician, it's like more powerful than the mob, because you start a job. I once telepathically connected with Earth Spirit, uncommonly known as Gashan. They observe farmers as they. Yeah, yeah. I've I've met those guys. Especially in upstate New York, with all those beautiful farms in the rolling hills of the Finger Lakes. Yeah, they were all over that place. There were all kinds of spirits. There are spirits everywhere. In cities even, right? Anyway, long story short, I met Neil. He's, the Gary Trudeau comic strip political guy of Australia. We became fast friends. We traveled across America, and he hung out with me and my wife, my first beautiful wife, Donna Ann, and he's like my brother. And so then for 2 years, we're both writers and artists. He's a real good artist. He's a comic, he's I'm a good painter, but mostly in big things. The smaller it gets, the harder it gets for me. Anyway, we stayed in contact for 2 years, and he comes, oh, you got to come, you got to come. And then we had an opportunity, and we went. And and we had the crappiest flight, Pan Am, and we flying, from LAX to Sydney, and right where we were on that line between the northern and, I'm talking about it. I'm having a serious deja vu right now. I'm like, not here. I am. I'm up in space with little fireflies. Okay, I'm back. So, so, I'm in the men's, in the laboratory of the aircraft, and we're flying towards Australia, and we leave LAX September 12th, and we hit that line between northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, and we go back a day, September 11th. But I don't cognitively realize that. When I realize something is very strange, is that so I'm taking a piss into the can of the purple juice, and I hit that little button, and the swirl starts going clockwise, right? And then it slows down, and it goes the other way, because that's Coriolis effect. You go on the other side there, and on our side, northern hemisphere, it goes clockwise, southern it goes counter, right? Anyway, when it does that, I go into a trance, and I am, again, where I was just a few moments ago, out in the black, black, black space, all the stars, and they were like fireflies coming, flies coming up from, the fire pit, and I was like, whew. And so, and I didn't see these guys because they were dark. I just saw their eyes kind of dancing around the fire. And it went on forever until this knock, 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 knock on the door. And, sir, are you okay? Sir, are you okay? And it's the stewardess. And I must have been in the can for, you know, a while. And I'm like, you know, and she she goes, sir, are you okay? And I again go away. You know, I don't hear her voice anymore, or I'm not in the can anymore. And what I see is a hand in front of me, and it comes like this. It's out of focus, out of focus, out of focus, and it comes right. It doesn't touch my nose, but it's right there, like you know, like just almost touching my nose. It's not touching it, but I can feel it, and I feel again. Don't hear a voice, but I realize and understand something. Everything has changed. Reality, your reality that you were in is no longer there. You know, there's this little film around you now. And everything from the tip of your nose is like off the hook. Everything from the tip of your nose to all through to every cell of your body is okay. And you're protected and you're okay, right? No matter what happens, right? And then the right, sir, right? I don't know how long it was between me hearing her voice and then me seeing the hand almost touch my nose. And this is when I learned that where it says occupied, that just flips up and they can go like this and come into the bathroom. So she comes in and my schlong is hanging out. And I turn around and there's my schlong. And she kind of looks down at it and she goes, sir, are you okay? And I go, sir, are you okay? And she puts her hand on my shoulder. And I go, and she kind of goes, sir, are you okay? I go, yeah, I'm okay. She goes, well, you better, you know, get yourself together and come on out, and I'll help you get back to your seat. I said, okay, thank you. So I look down, and there's my schlong, and I go, And I stick it back in, up with a zipper. I throw some water on my face, towels. I put a couple in my pocket. And they have those little things like, you know, make your handy wipes, you know, and I kind of, and so I come out, and she kind of puts her arm in my arm and walks me down the aisle and eases me into the seat. And we're like in the way back of the airplane, so we're not too far from, you know, she didn't have to walk me that far. And she eased me in the sleep. And my Donna Ann, she's asleep. And she's like a cat. She's like all curled up in the seat, right? Anyway, so I'm like sitting there. And she goes, what kind of soda do you like? And she got a ginger ale? And she goes, yep, not a problem. So I kind of, you know, stretch, get myself comfy in the seat. My little Donna Ann, she kind of wiggles around and kind of gets in my lap. We've like already pushed the armrest, so there is no armrest between our two seats. And the stewardess comes back and she's got a couple blankets, a couple pillows. She's got 3 cans of ginger ale and a glass of ice and a big glass of whiskey, Irish whiskey. You know, I smell it. Is this Patty's? And she goes, no, but it's Irish whiskey. And I said, you know, thank you. Will I owe you anything? She goes, no. So, you know, she kind of opens the blankies. She covers us both. She sticks a little pillow under Donnie's head and one behind mine and puts down the little table and puts the little, you know, tray that she was carrying with the liquids and puts it there. And she goes, well, you just relax. We'll be in Sydney, you know, in about 2 or 3 hours. And I go, okay. She goes, I'll come and check on you. She goes, and you're sure you're okay? I said, yeah. And I said, what day is it? And she goes, it's September 11th, 1977. September 11th, right? So I kind of, you know, have a ginger ale, and I knock that one, you know, there's the little cans. And I pour some of the Irish whiskey over the ice cubes and drink that. And yeah, that's a flight attendant, exactement. And just like my girlfriend, I was telling you about, you know, that I knew in Somerville. But anyway, from the Eastern Shuttle from Boston to LaGuardia. So anyway, I kind of, finished the liquids, put the cans in the little back flap there, and put up the thing, and I still have, my whiskey because I'm a slow drinker of whiskey in one can, and I put that in the thing on the chair that holds a drink, and I kind of, hey Thompson, I kind of ease off into sleep, right, and I kind of become self-aware of the dream, very aware, very very aware that I'm dreaming, very aware that and where I'm at is in the World Trade Center tower, the South Tower, and I am in an office, and I see a plane. On a plane, I know a lot about planes, and I see a plane that I've never seen before. It's not a 747, it's not a 727, not a 737, not a 707. It's a two-engine plane, but it's almost as big as 747, and the engines are gigantic, and it's flying right towards the North Tower and smashes right into it. And then I go out of the office, I go to the elevator, I go down, everyone's rushing out of the building, and people are down on the ground floor telling everyone who's coming out of the go on back to your office. It's safe, it's fine, it's good. Go on back. And there had to be hundreds, if not thousands, of people trying to get out of the building, and the folks, these like the people in suits, they're not in uniforms, but they have guns, and they're telling people everything's fine, everything's fine. And they don't see me, and I walk right by them, and I walk onto Varick, and I walk over to where Trinity Church is, and there's a cemetery there, and they have nice benches, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like going, whoa, and I see all the smoke coming out of the North Tower, and then I hear another crash, and I look up, and there's this big explosion, and then I see the buildings coming down, like it is, you saw on TV. Well, this is 1977. September 11th. I'm seeing this in a dream, and I'm going, this is a dream. This is a dream. I'm aware. I'm awake. I'm remembering this. It's like I'm here, but it's a dream. I know it's a dream. Now, I was a Local 3 apprentice electrician on the World Trade Center, and those buildings were built to never come down. That center core was 40 feet by 40 feet of steel and concrete. Nothing could get through them. The outside, why the World Trade Center buildings were so groovy was that they had all other steel and concrete buildings have columns, like and walls. But each floor of the World Trade Center buildings, both of them, north and south, was an acre big. And they had no columns, meaning other than the center column, they had no other columns holding up the ceilings, right? And the outside walls were these box steel frames that were about 40 inches by 40 inches, right? And they were manufactured at a factory, and they were brought up by crane and put in place, riveted and then welded, and then they put in rebar and poured concrete into them. So that was like industry. So the building was structurally built so the outside of the building held up the building. And the more force that went down, the stronger those walls got, right? And each floor was 4 foot thick of concrete. Now you see pictures, animated pictures, of the kind of steel kind of structure that you'll go into a big box store and you see this kind of flimsy I-beam made out of basically rebar and two little strips of steel, right? And they weld them together and they make an I-beam. That's, maybe 20 inches, right? And then they tack weld, corrugated steel on that, and then they put a roof on it, and that's a box store. And they have columns every so often with a steel beam and those prefabricated I-beams are welded to the bigger I-beams that are then welded to columns that go down, right? Well, that's not the World Trade Center. They did put up these, corrugated, I-beams and corrugated steel, but that was just to work on. And they laid pipe and cables and plumbing stuff. And each of those floors were 4 foot thick and they had mats of rebar that were this thick, right? And they were welded together. And then they strung the kind of stainless steel, um, the kind of cables that are manufactured to hold up suspension bridges. And so they wove that back and forth, and then they pulled it in. Then they poured the concrete in there, and it was stressed. And after it formed, it was let go, and that's called pre-stressed concrete. So those floors were 4 foot thick of, you know, 5 mats, rebar that big, all kinds of electrical pipes and everything all over it, squeezed together, this super duper concrete, put in there, poured concrete, stressed, and each floor was four. So no way is, even if the airplane, what a 737, 747, 757, 767, what they are is aluminum thermoses with wings on them, right? And they when they are down on what they call the deck, anything below 1,000 feet, that air is very thick. So those airplanes were coming in at 500 miles an hour. They couldn't do it. They physically can't do it. It's beyond science because those aircraft are designed to fly about between 500 and 600 miles an hour, but at 30,000 feet where the air is really thin, right? And so you know, so first of all, those airplanes couldn't be going that fast. They can't, at the deck, they really can't fly any faster than 280, right? 280 to 325. These suckers were going at 500 miles an hour, right? If you've ever seen any of the NASA films of where they crash airplanes to see what they do, right? Well, they've actually flown radio-controlled aircraft into walls that are a tenth the strength of the World Trade Center exterior walls, and the airplane crumples into the wall and doesn't go through. Now, these airplanes are supposed to be able to go through this amazing structure. No. And then bring them, and it's kerosene burning at about 300 degrees, steel doesn't melt at 1200. And the 9/11 committee, they were never going to do one. They never did. I was a fireman. Every accident I ever was, they had people from the NTSB or the whatever fire guys to come and see what caused it, what happened, do. They did not investigate whatsoever. All they did was get rid of it. They had they already started taking the steel out of that site the day it happened. I mean, a number of weeks after 9/11, I'm schooled as a shrink. Working at the VA, my real, what I was best at was dealing with people with PTSD during the Vietnam War. So one of my fellows, healers, who's really high on the level of shrinkdom and runs a hospital, he called me up and said, "Hey, you told me that you worked on the World Trade Center and blah, blah, blah. Well, I have put together a crew to go there, and we're going to set up in Trinity Church in the basement, and the guys who are working in the pit at Ground Zero, this is going to be a place where they can come and have a cup of coffee and talk to folk. And you're one of the best people he said, you're one of the best people I know that deals with PTSD. I said, can you come? I said, hey, I'll be there. When? So, I showed up about a week after that phone call. I had nothing on my schedule. And I kind of took a train into town. Planes, not so much. Unless I'm going far, far away. Train or drive or a bus, right? So I took a train there. I got off the train, got in a cab, and I went downtown. And the whole downtown was swirling with that white dust. And I worked on those buildings. All the concrete had asbestos in it. Every water heat pipe had asbestos in it. So I'm looking at that stuff and I said, boy, that's asbestos, along with a witch's brew of crap. And all the buildings around downtown were kind of built in the 30s, so they all have ledges. So I'm looking, this is like, 2 or 3 weeks after, and all those ledges have 4 or 5 feet of this white stuff packed on it. And every time the wind blows, the whole downtown is just a cloud of this stuff. So they had a thing called Big Lots, which was like the precursor to Lowe's, right? And they had every kind of, it was like Lowe's, and really cheap because all this stuff was like seconds. So I told the cabbie guy, oh, let's go, I gave him the address. You know where Big Lots is over there on Cambridge Street? He goes, oh, yeah, I know where that is. So we go over there. I get out of the car. I said, you just wait right here. I'll be right back. And I go in there, and a bunny suit, when you're in a spray booth spraying a car or something, you put, because the whole environment is atomized paint and you don't want it to get on your skin or in your eyes or your lungs. So you have this suit. That's one piece. It's like a bunny suit, top of your head to your top of your toes. You have these boots. And then they have serious respirators that are like, this is only exposed from the bunny suit. And the respirator pulls right over and covers all of this. And you have two, not just one, two, and your eyes, and there's like the mask over it. It's like a gas mask, right? Anyway, so I buy like 10 of these bunny suits and 2 respirators and a box of filters, right, that screw on. And so I come out with this stuff and say, okay, let's go over to Trinity. And I'm in the back of the thing, pulling a bunny suit on and putting that on and getting, and I've got these big garbage bags for all my my clothes bags, my knapsack, and I cover it up in that. And, he pulls in front of the church. I pay the guy off. I get out, and everyone's walking around in their business suit, and they're kind of got this white film of asbestos all over them. And I go into the church, and there's church people in there, and they're looking at me like. And this guy comes up to me, a priest, and he goes, "Hi, are you with the boys downstairs?" I said, "Yeah, yep." He goes, "So." He goes, "You're wearing this because of all the crap in the air, right?" I go, "Yep." And he goes, "You're the guy who worked on the World Trade Center?" Yep. "So you know something that we all don't know?" I said, "That's right. You better get one of these, Padre." So I go down there, and they're all my buddies, and they're setting up the tables and the coffee urns and the donuts and everything. And I go in with the outfit on, and my buddy comes over to me and goes, "Well, what are you wearing?" I said, "What, are you nuts? Look at the shit that's in the air. I mean, that's everyone's going to die from that, more than the people who died, with the alleged. What do you mean alleged?" I said, "Well, I said, we'll talk about it another time later. But right now, what you need to do, where's the yellow page?" So I looked up the yellow pages, and I looked for environmental, cleanup, right? Called up a couple. I said, "So you got HEPA filters? I have a basement that I want to totally cover in plastic, and then I want HEPA filters to suck the air out of there, and I want other HEPA filters to take air from another place and put it in there." So he goes, "Oh, you want a hermetically sealed environment?" He said, "So you have a biological problem?" I said, "Well, I want to stop one." So he was the one guy who understood what I was talking about. After I talked to 5 guys, he was one guy who wasn't that expensive, and he was a guy who could show up that day. So he showed up that day, and he had the devices that took, samples and told you right away what it was, right? And so, I'm in the bunny suit still. I haven't taken it off, and he looks at me, and I said, "So haven't any of your folk been checking this air?" And he goes, "Well, the EPA tells us that is perfectly fine and that we're not supposed to take any samples. And if we do, we could lose our licenses." I said, "Really? Doesn't that smack of something?" And he goes, yeah. I said, "So this is a perfect example, just take samples here inside the basement, inside the rectory, inside the church sanctuary, and on Broadway, on Varick Street, and on the 2 side streets. I mean, that's what you would do anyway if you were, doing this, right, for some other reason." And he goes, "You're right. I can do this. It fits right into our protocol." Anyway, so he did, and So, he's got this truck that has like a laboratory in it. And so he's got his guys, putting up the plastic and taping it off, and they're blowing the place out and then sucking, vacuuming it real seriously, and, doing other things, and then putting in the two-way air systems. And so he gets his boys going and takes the samples and he goes in his truck. And I go in the truck with him, right? And I said, "Can I take off my?" He said, "Yeah, you're pretty clean in here. So I did. And I took off my bunny suit and left it out there. And had another one to put on after it. Anyway, he said that the particulate matter of asbestos, and also there was just spiking off the roof of what is that stuff called? Oh, it's a weapons, military grade explosive. And he said, this is not background. This is like really serious. I said, "Well, what are you going to do about that?" He goes, "Nothing." He says, "I want to stay alive. I'm just not coming down to this part of," yeah, thermite. That's exactly it. And a lot of radiologicals, right? And the other thing he found that was the aluminum. He had samples of aluminum that had been irradiated in such a way that it changed, on the periodic table, right? So it was exposed to some serious kind of radiation. And it wasn't the usual ionized radiation of X-ray or microwave or, what you would get at a nuclear detonation, right? It was way more weird because it changed certain alumins and certain leads and just kind of changed them in something that's not on the, was somewhere over there on the periodic table, right? So he said, "This is too spooky for me, buddy. And I'm not going to say anything about that. You right? I'm not going to say anything either." And I said, "So what I would like, though, is your little that little device that sucked in the shit, and you're only using a third of those things. Give me those." And he goes, "Better you than me." So I did. I put them in an envelope, and I sent them, or a number of envelopes, and I sent them to 3 or 4 friends in different universities in different parts of the country. Right that day, I went into the post office, and a couple of days later, I called them each. "Hey, did you get my little postcard?" "Oh, yeah, yeah. What, don't even talk about it. I'll come visit you," right? And that's another story. So, there I was for about a week and a half, and the firemen, the construction guys, the policemen, all who lost friends and family, were like in shock, like nothing I've seen anybody in shock. And they were saying, that what the firemen couldn't believe that no one was, the FBI, the NTSB, none of they called for all those people to show up, the EPA, and they were really pissed. There was this one fire captain who was really pissed because none of those people showed up. And that when he heard on the radio the EPA said that it's fine, he called up, people in the New York State because he was a captain. So he had some clout of a certain level. And he was of a certain family in the fire department that he had a certain clout. And he was making a lot of noise, and he just disappeared. And that was the strangest thing. So there were about 18 of us talking to the guys, and had coffee and donuts and bagels and cream cheese and I went to job lots again, and they had a little device, almost like a dosimeter, but it was for environmental things. Cheapo, crapo, but you could wear it on your lapel, and you would take this little strip out and put it in a fluid, and it would say, it would light up green, yellow, or red. Green, not a problem. Yellow, watch out. Red, you're going to die. And it didn't give you any readings. It just green, yellow, red. So, I got a bunch of those, gave them to everybody I could, and told them where they could buy them at job lots. And you know, 3 or 4 times a day, I checked out the environment outside, inside there, and then where I was staying. I was staying, oh, Midtown. I was probably, where street was I on? Where's my 28th Street? 28th Street, and just above the West Village. I have a friend who had the loft up there. And, you know, where he was, it was yellowish green, you know, a good 3 miles from ground zero, and it was still yellowish green, you know, green enough. So I said, you should, get a HEPA filter and put plastic on your windows, you know, and he knew me well enough to do it. I took him down to the Trinity and showed him, and he was like, ooh. He actually freaking moved out of New York. He kept his loft and rented it out to some yuppie, and he went to upstate New York and changed his job and just went off the grid. I mean, that was enough to freak him out, and that was 19 years ago. Things have changed a great deal. And all those things were put in place like in the 1840s, the Civil War. What happened on 9/11 has more to do with the Civil War than you know. Mm. Yep. Dragon, were you in New York at that during that time? Because I had a lot of friends die, you know, young, in their 40s and 50s, of cancer and heart attacks and, lots of strange things. Right, and I was only there, and I was in a coffee shop in Roanoke, Virginia, right, and it's a thing called Mill Mountain, and they got about 10 of them all around, and the one downtown was run by this woman who managed it, and she was an artist, and she was really cool, and I told her stories about you know. The milk glass, the Milky Way in Amsterdam. It was a kind of collective, squat. It was an old factory right downtown and right in the middle. And this was in the days when everyone in Amsterdam was squatting. So many people squatted in Amsterdam that the utility you could get your electricity, gas, and phone turned on in an abandoned building. Anyway, so she ran it like a little, as my friend Pete would call it, a eco village. There was the business of her boss where they sold coffee and tea and donuts and little sandwiches. But it was a big, big space, a lot of tables. And she let people back in the corner where the windows weren't set up their own little shop. So there were guys back there blowing glass and making this and that, and I was back there doing my reading advisor thing, and I said, and she let people put art on the walls, right? And I basically, if go back and look at things, and when I was showing you pictures of New York, and there's a lot of pictures of my art, my paintings, my murals, and I worked for Xerox, so I had like unlimited, Xeroxing, and so that was, and I was doing postering, and so I had boxes and boxes of all these things I had written and drawn, and then Xerox the zillion of, and then I would make these tapestries, put them all over the place in New York City with the paste, but I had boxes of these things, and I just used spray adhesive on not on the wall but on each other. I put up a 1x2 all the way around and then hung it down like the 18th century tapestries. But it was my art, and I covered the whole place, everything, reading thing, and He left this because he was making a lot of money, meaning it was his most profitable um, store he had. It was also his largest and it was downtown. And he's like, what the, And she said, well, this is just, it's just going to be up for a month. Down. It's no big deal. It's not attached to the wall or anything. And over there, that guy over there, he's the artist. So he came over. So what the heck is that? And Dave was Dave is a strange man, but he's a good guy, and he tries. He tries the best. So he employs like 100 people. He's got a lot of stuff going on, and his coffee is quite good. Anyway, so he's doing that, and he has, you know, I give him a reading, and that's like wow. And so we become that was 2000. So I've known Dave since 2000, 19 years, right? And so, you know, like everyone else in this little village, I'm, Sensei Al Bob. And as one of my clients once said, you are an acquired taste. Instructor, loving chat, beloved. Hey, Ink, good to see you, buddy. The gang's all here, all four of us. And I'm talking about lots of different things, as I always do. So anyway, I was sitting in that coffee shop. So that was my downtown office, I had the corner over there, and that's where people would come. Sensei Al Bob here, I need to talk to him, There's where I'd be. So I got to know everybody who would have coffee there, especially those who, instead of just ran in and ran out, there were a lot of people who get their coffee, sit down, and, relax. And there was this one guy who was from Iran, and he was a surgeon. He worked at the big hospital, right? And he had been here forever, and he never really talked that much about politics or anything. We talked about art, philosophy, theology, medicine, and Iran, not Iran as the government or country it is now, or when the Shah was there, but back in the day when it was the Persian Empire. And so I like, I've studied the Persian Empire a lot. And so did he, and he never told me the etymology of all of his studies, right? But, he was a definite, certified surgeon, and, that's what he was. Who are you? I'm a surgeon. I had to leave with the revolution, and so you're one of the good Iranians, right? Anyway, so we're there having our coffee, and there's a big screen TV up there right in front of us, over the behind where the coffee is made, and they cut straight to the airplane flying into the building, right? And he looks at me, and I look at him, and he goes, Al, my friend, it has been a great honor and pleasure to know you. This will be the last day you see me. And I said, okay. And then I said to him, this seems to be a red flag. And this is like the minute it happened. And he goes, we will not speak of this. In the last, moments we have, let us just speak of the friendship that we have and that we will always have. And I never seen him since, So we've been, it's almost 1 hour. It's a good time to, yes, we both knew right away, right? And I never saw him again, And he was a big deal in that hospital, and that was it. He went out that door and was not seen again, So I have no idea what was what, but we both knew, we both looked at it. We both looked at each other. He says, this is not what it seems. And I said, yeah, I know. It's been planned since the U.S. Civil War. And he kind of smiled. the Brotherhood. I said, yep, the Carhazian Mafia. He said, the Brotherhood. And then he said, the Unseen Hand. I said, yep. And so, and that's when I started calling it the Unseen Hand after he said that. So, anyway, so I think what would be good, here we are at 1 minute and 27 seconds. The three of us, why not? Not going to, others will show up. Why don't we go into state? And why don't I take you to the Civil War, before the Civil War? 10 years, the War of 1812. Maybe even, the Revolutionary War, the homeboys, because that's when 9/11 was started, back with the Founding Fathers. So it's 1 hour at school back when I was young. Started a journey to my, awakening, exactly. So, okay, there's four of us there, so get in a comfortable spot, right? Right? Get to a place where you feel good, a chair, a bed, whatever, so you can let go of the squirrel in your head, right? So, okay. So, one, your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. You're breathing in that 20% in, and breathing out that 30%. And you're letting it go. See it clearly. Right? And one, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. And you're quieting the squirrel in your mind. You're letting it go. See it clearly. And you're breathing in the prana, filling your lungs 20% more, 30% out. You're taking in that prana. The heart is pumping that rich red blood with iron through all your veins and arteries and capillaries, and it's swirling clockwise, and inside that swirl counterclockwise, and inside that clockwise. And you are energizing your body with the prana, and that flow of blood is a scalar, multi-phased generator, and you're bringing that current to every cell of your body, and the mitochondria is like sparking up, and you are being filled with photonic light. It's the light of love's co-creation. See it clearly. And you're illuminating your imaginary mirror. And you're taking that light in your imaginary mirror, and it's photonic light, very bright, no shadows, and you're shining it into your subconscious mind. That's the sanctuary of your Akashic record. See it clearly. And two, you're now totally relaxed. Your avatar, your bag of water, your mud puppet is no longer connected to your conscious. It is totally on autopilot, See it clearly. And you're walking into your Akashic record. In front of you is the fireplace of the eternal flame. And in front of that is your reading table. And behind that is your reading chair. From above is photonic light. There are no shadows. To your left is your librarian, your animal totem, and your guardian angel. Okay. Your librarian brings you your Akashic record. You open it up, the two blank pages. You put your right hand on the right page, your left hand on the left page, and you lean into it. And you're evacuating all of your negative energy, all of your fear, all of your hate, all of your anxiety, all of your avarice, all of your self-loathing, your self-hate. You're putting it all into your Akashic record. You lean back, you put your hand underneath the book and close it. Boom. And now it's right there on your table. And where we're going tonight in this meditation, we're going into the hall of the hidden hand. Right? And we're going to go through one of those doorways. And that is the doorway, the land. The land of the hidden hand is the land of the lie of commerce, the lie of military materialism. See it clearly. And down the chimney comes Saint Germain. Right? See Saint Germain clearly. 40-ish, very handsome, beard, kind of wearing 18th century kind of suit, kind of. See it clearly. And so you, I, and your guardian angel and your librarian and your animal totem come together in the center of your library, and you walk to the second door that's closed of the 9 doors, and Saint Germain, we're all kind of arm in arm. He takes his hand and he places it on the door, and it disappears and becomes the event horizon. And it's black. Black is black. And when we walk through it, we find ourselves in a forest at night. And if any of you have seen the TV show Sleepy Hollow, the one that was on a few years ago, and Ichabod Crane gets stuck in a time loop and pops out in 2000 whatever in New England, right? Well, that's where we are. And that's where we are seeing Ichabod Crane. And he was just about to be thrown into a dark pit of magic. And the headless horseman is there, and the other horsemen of the apocalypse are there. And there is an open rift, It's not like the time vortex that's above my head. It is red in nature and gives off sparks, really scary, dangerous sparks, and not like fireworks, but they emote fear. And so we are on a hill above this, looking down there. And Ichabod does not see what is about to happen to him. He doesn't see the horsemen of the apocalypse. He just doesn't see them. They're in another dimension. But when we popped through that event horizon, it changed, it went from a place where he couldn't see anything to now it's just the dark woods. And he goes, whoa, what happened here? I was really scared for a moment. I was taken to some place I don't understand. And he is saying this, and we're hearing it in his head. And we're saying, hey, buddy, come up here. Get run as fast as you can towards us. Get away from where you are. So he kind of runs up there, and he meets us, and, you put your hand on his shoulder and turn him around, and he can now see the the horsemen of the apocalypse. And he nearly shits a brick because he's a scholar. He has been studying all of this, and he didn't believe, even though he had started to realize that different elements of the Revolutionary War had more to do with, the paranormal or the supernatural. And they had other names for it in his century, the 18th century. Anyway, but he sees our clothing, and he sees Saint Germain, and he's seen Saint Germain before, in another place as a military guy, hanging out with Washington, and he is totally confused, and we say we better get out of here. And he goes, well, I don't know even what direction to go, and Saint Germain goes, just everyone close their eyes, and he says to Ichabod, so visualize your home. Is your home safe? Do you have any sitchins on your home? And he goes, yes, I've been studying, all of this for years. And once I started to realize that black magic was involved, even though I knew these things, I never practiced them. I started to get the herbs. I started to get my laboratory together. I started to be the alchemist I always wanted to be because I had to be it. It's not just like a boyhood dream. This is like, oops, all my studying has come, I guess I did it for a reason. So he goes, yes. And Saint Germain goes, well, just visualize your home, the front of your home, what neighborhood's it in, the inside of your home. And so he does that. We all close our eyes, and he goes, open your eyes. Bingo. There we were in Ichabod's sitting room, right? And his beloved is there. And right away, she realizes that, ooh, these guys from another dimension. And she goes, you're the visitors that have been foretold. And we're going, And Saint Germain goes, yep, that's us. And she goes, where are you from? And he goes, well, we're going to have some ground rules here. We can talk about certain things, but not other things. We can talk about all the magic you want, what's going on in your time, but we really can't talk about what's going, because all these folks here are from not just one time, from lots of different times. And so just know that, and that we are the visitors that have been foretold in your coven. And the Ichabod goes, coven? And she goes, yes, sweetheart. I'm a witch, high-level witch. And that's kind of why I kind of bumped into you a couple of months ago, and I've been so sweet on you because you are one of the chosen, and you needed to be looked after and guarded and protected. But now these guys are here, and she looks over at our guardian angels, and she goes, and those people are, those guys are here. And Ichabod looks at them and he goes, what guys? He goes, I see all these other guys, but what, you're pointing at somebody I don't see. She goes, well, they are, let's just call them your protectors, right? So there we are, right? And so we pull up some chairs. She goes and gets a teapot, the 3 teapots, right? She has been brewing on the stove, and she brings them in and puts them on this stone on the floor and puts a candle on it, lights it. And we all she turns all the other lights out in the sitting room, and we're all sitting around the candle. And you're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation. You have illuminated yourself with your breath, taken that illumination into your imaginary mirror, and then illuminated your subconscious mind, the library of your own choosing. You have eliminated and evacuated all of the negative energy in your consciousness, and we have brought forth through the fireplace of the eternal flame Saint Germain, and we have all gathered ourselves together to walk through the doorway, the second doorway, the doorway of the dark magic of business. You know, that includes, Babylonian money magic. That includes, the illusion of the thing. Oh, and we're all here. The nine are here. And we are in Ichabod Crane's sitting room with his beloved, he has just found out to be a high level witch. And he is just realizing his studies of the esoteric occult and alchemy, he thought was just because his father was a theologian, that he was rebelling against his father's. And he came to America too. His father wanted him to get ordained and stay in London. But his father was, a dark witch himself, right? And but he was a Lutheran minister. But in the down low, he was a satanic character. And all of this is just coming to, when we went through the event Horizon, we were on a hill there in Sleepy Hollow, and Ichabod was about to be sacrificed by the four horsemen. And we, were there in the nick of time, got his attention. He ran up the hill. When he turned around, he saw them because he didn't see them when he was down there about to get snuffed and sacrificed in a bloody sacrifice. And then he had no idea where he was. And so Saint Germain brought him back to his sitting room where his beloved was waiting for him by us just closing our eyes. And here we are. And then the beloved saw us and realized we were those who were foretold to have come. And so she says, okay, it's time for the ceremony. And she goes off, and she is like an old crone. And she told Ichabod that she was a witch, but he wouldn't have understand what, the Celtic reference was, that she was, that she was, a not a familiar, but a eternal, right? So the ceremony is a time dielectric. This is the kind of technology that the hidden hand is playing with at CERN and at Montauk and at Brookhaven National Laboratory and at Area 51. She was doing all of that and more with a candle and 3 teapots. And that's how strong she was, She could do all the stuff that these morons do with their technology, and she just needed a candle, a stone, and 3 teapots. So we go into the ceremony, and where we go is a multi-phased toral swirl. And within that swirl, it's like did you ever go on to the tilt-a-wheel? You get in the cage and they spin it like this, and then they do this, and centrifugal force kind of puts you against the wall. Well, we are doing that this evening in a shamanic ceremony. No tilt-a-wheel, but it'll kind of be that way because as we spin around, each little chunk is going to be a different time, a different place. And we're going to see just again, when we're in our Akashic record, time is nonlinear. We will get these glimpses of all these things that will come together that are relevant to the window of opportunity that we find ourselves at as the cadre. So we are sitting in these nice chairs with arms and a nice little, covering. And they are actually shamanic alchemical devices, right? And they were brought over from Europe to here by our hero's new, girlfriend, right? Ichabod's girlfriend, who is, a shamanic princess slash witch slash crone slash time lord, brought these chairs over, and they are devices. They are like, machines. They are like, stargates. So we all are sitting in it, and she has these on the table, these very nice china cups, and she basically brings in the three pots in the cast iron pots, and she pours the first one, and to all enough cups for everyone, and then she brings the tray and gives us all our cup, and we drink that, and that's the cup of stamina and strength, because we're going to be doing things that the human body really wasn't designed for. And this will give us, the first teapot wasn't just there so you could go cut a lot of wood and work really hard for days on end without stopping. No, this was to make you physically, what's the right word? Indestructible. And when I was at the Duke, working for DARPA, trying to develop a super soldier, right, through their technology, the substances that they had were based on what this tea was, but they were ersatz, they were artificial, they were synthetic. Anything synthetic, anything big pharma is really almost useless because it is so overkill that it kills you, right? Whereas this is just a nice, energetic tea. So we had this tea, and we're going, that we feel good, right? And then she burns some incense, and then she brings fire from that incense, just like I did this morning. Go back and watch how I brought the fire, like poof, like someone made an observation. I think it was Buddy or someone, maybe Jane, said that was pretty amazing how that fire was just like no fire, and then it's a roaring fire. How'd you do that? Well, it's just the same way this sister brought the smoking herbs into a bright flame, right? Brought and then brought that flame to the candle, which really wasn't a candle; it was a stone, and that flame was not so much a wick burning wax, but it was, the eternal flame, the blue flame in the fireplace. And in your libraries, that flame has been burning since the Big Bang. She has the juice to bring that flame to wherever she wants, just by doing a little ceremony with some herbs and she didn't put a match to those herbs. She just put them together. It's like when you take phosphorus and put it in water, it goes, right? She put these herbs together with, saying a few words in Gaelic, and that there were, schistons all around that house. It was a very protected house. And so that flame came straight out of, first the herb smoked to smudge us for further protection, and then the flame occurred, right? And then she moved the flame down to the candle, which was just a stone. And so we drank the first tea, and that gave us strength. That's what you're seeing, Fish, what I'm explaining. Exactly. See? All of you guys are way ahead of the game. I tell you a story, and you go, that's what I saw. I forgot what lady it was the other night who was like so blown away. She says, you're stealing my dreams. You're in my head, No, not really. I'm just looking in there, and basically the things that you guys are seeing, why you're here, why you're there, you are the cadre, is because you're meant to be, right? You are in the last few nights, a week or so, or two, or however long you've been watching this. You have settled down. Your whole life has been a mystery. Your whole life has been a search. Your whole life has been one of distraught anxiety, punctuated by bliss and flashes of understanding that you then forget. Everything is as it should be. Thank you, Dragon. So she comes with a number two pot and pours it around, and we drink that, and that is the understanding, right? So when we go into dimensions, when we see these things, we'll have the stamina physically to to survive the experience. The second part was to give us a sharpened intellect, so when we see what we see, we will see it and not disbelieve it. This is like the second part is the suspension of our disbelief, and then the third part, which you don't get to drink much, and by this time, the light has gotten bright. The light has illuminated all of our, imaginary mirrors. For all of us that have come from the Akashic record to this, we're already illuminated, but this is like steps it up, and instead of just the simple photonic light that doesn't shine any shadows, this light is so crystalline. It's crystalline in its photonic form, and it embraces all of the other harmonics of darkness. In the beginning, all things were dark, right? All there was the darkness. Well, we're now seeing all of those frequencies, right? So now when we are brought into this journey, we will see every frequency. We won't miss it because we're only using 0.0095% of our sensory consciousness in our avatar bag of water. And we're so stuck in that, even when we're in our Akashic record, we sometimes are stuck in our avatar. And that's why you got to practice, 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 practice. Not just going on these journeys with me. You got to start doing it every day in every way. At least 4, 5, 10, 20 times. Every time you feel tired, every time you feel down, every time you feel anxious, every time you feel blue, just close your eyes, go into state. Bingo. Go into your Akashic record. What's going on? Oh, that's what's going on. Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. I'm just about to be given a parking, I got to, you will get the 411 on everything, and the day will just go along swimmingly. You got to do this. You got to. I mean, I'm your sensei, Albob, not your school master. I'm not going to hit you with a ruler, taking you on these little journeys is enough of them. Anyway, there we are in Ichabod's sitting room with his beloved, and she's now pouring the third pot in our cups, right? And by this time, the room is no longer, the dark room that we found ourselves in when we were transported there. And it is now this brightness, your Akashic record. When you think of, my subconscious, it's a scary, dark place, and then you illuminate your imaginary mirror and take that light and put it into your Akashic record. You want it in there, and it's like lit by this photonic light that you can't even tell where it's not like the lighting fixtures. Oh, there it is. Or there's the light on the desk. No. You don't know where the source of photonic light is. It's like it's coming from everywhere. And that's why there's no shadows, right? Now, after we've gone through the ceremony with the beloved, she is she is now no longer that attractive woman in that dress with a cape. with dark hair and green eyes. She is just a bag of light, like this. Not a bag, but bubble or however you see it. But it's goldish with these light white sparks coming off. And when I was describing my experience in the flight 007 heading from LAX to Sydney, and I saw the universe change in the swirling blue water of the can, and then like that, I had the sparkly feeling right before the just after the stewardess was knocking on the door, and I wasn't there anymore, and then all these sparks around. That's what the beloved looked like. And yes, this is Ichabod's girlfriend, but she is the beloved. And the beloved is different than love's co-creation. The beloved is, oh, how can I describe the beloved? It's everyone's girlfriend. I think that's the best. Everyone's twin flame. Everyone's right. And whenever you have someone in your life like that, girlfriend or boyfriend, that makes your heart sing. That is the beloved, right? And that is Ichabod's girlfriend. He was lucky to get the full Monty, but now she's doing the ceremony. She's coming and showing us who she really is, right? And all she is photonic light in a more, when you take a substance and you make it pure and pure and pure and pure, that's what she is. And so there we are in this room, right? And we're all sitting in a circle, and she has poured. We haven't drank the thing, but after she drank that, and the light is in the rock on the floor, and it's really brilliant, and so is she's even more brilliant than the eternal flame, and the whole room is filled with smudge, and we've drinking, the tea from pot one and pot two, so we have the strength, the intellectual ability, and we've got cup three in our hand, right? And now this woman is doing ceremony, and she's turning into this cloud of light, and just sparks that are connecting to our heart chakras. And then she goes, all right, everyone bottom up. We all, and those seats that we are sitting in start going around and round and round and round and round and round and round clockwise. Round and round and round and round and round, and faster, faster, and faster. And once you kind of pick a spot, it's like hard to move your head, but once you kind of look at a spot, bing, that stops. Everything's flying around, but that stops. And it's a time spot, right? And it's different for all of us who are spinning around, right? All the 10 and all of our cadre and all our relations are having this experience right now as we're talking. Now, some are having it in dream time. Some are having it, like us, dreamy dreamland. Some are having it in, what do we shrinks call it? A psychic break. But there's good psychic breaks and bad ones, right? When Edgar Casey would go into state or trance, that was like, a good psychic break. So everyone's having this in some portion or another. Now, not everybody got to go to Ichabod's sitting room and have tea, right? They are just having this experience. So they're not kind of grounded in their chi. They're not, protected by the prana. And they're not there in the way you guys are there. We guys are there. And so we're spinning around and we're seeing all these flashes, right? So we see the flash of, let's pick Babylon money magic. It's not when this whole magic dark business started. That started with Lucifer getting pissed off and having the Big Bang, right? But we've had many, 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 many reincarnations of this on a galactic scale. You know, what we're experiencing for the last, somewhere between a billion and 16 million years, that's just an incarnation. Just like you guys die, we die, and come back and forget that we were back. Well, our galaxies do the same thing. And this is just one of ours, right? So I'm not going to take the whole billion years story. You can go into your Akashic record and look at this. I'm just going to kind of pick it up with the Babylonian thing. And, again, movies are really good. They make them for a reason, So, and they're done shamanically. So if you go back and watch the first Stargate movie, the movie, not the TV show, the movie, that had what's his name in it as the star, and watch that, and watch it 3 to 6 times over and over again, and you will get all of the metaphors, all the characters, what the army, the colonel guy who lost his son, Daniel with the glasses, his girlfriend. His girlfriend is Ichabod Crane's girlfriend. Daniel is Ichabod Crane. Right? Then go and get the 10 years of the TV show and just kind of start binging on that. This will do. Those shows were created. Babylon, dig up. Yep. Brass and vessel. And yep. 72 demons. Yes, this is true, Eden. Yes. See, all of you guys, break versus breakthrough. Right, exactly. You guys are having a breakthrough right now. And my, being the griot at this time is giving you a vehicle for your id's sanity and your consciousness's connection to that, right? So and those chairs are spinning around. You're not like on the tilt. It didn't tilt, but it's, and you're seeing all these things. So here you are, and you're in one of these grand mausoleums of the Babylons, and they are doing ceremony, and they are bringing through this dimensional swirl, but it's more the red one with all the sparks. And they're bringing through, sparklers. They're bringing through from other dimensions this magic of money. Because up until then, everyone, could telepathically communicate to each other. So there was no lying, no cheating, no stealing. Couldn't do it. You were interconnected in the Great Link, right? And with money magic, it created that individual separation of the mud puppet. Right? Well, we already kind of were separated with Satan's, Big Bang and putting us into this, jelly bean of the illusionary universe that's expanding. Anyway, so it's there, and these creatures come through, right? And the two creatures. So the other night when we went to Satan's office building, and there was two pillars holding up the capstone, and who was in them was ant and turtle. Right? So before the guides that took humanity from the great Holocaust, where they were obliterated and then brought back through the Anunnaki, doing DNA fun and games with what was left of, dust to dust, earth to earth, right? And little mud puppets, kind of made us mud puppets. But the two guides that brought the connection of our soul, our consciousness, into this, realm of this, reincarnation in this galaxy for this millennium period of time, somewhere between 1 billion and 16 million years is ant and turtle, right? So we're spinning around and we're seeing all these things, and then bing, we stop. And where are we? We are in Babylon, but before Babylon, and we are in a again another temple. But this temple is more organic. It's not made out of stone and gold and the most irrelevant materials in this galaxy's moment. It's created with love's co-creation, right? We're first, so we're in this temple of ant and turtle. They're both there. They're like twin flames, husband and wife, right? And you go, how can a beloved be a turtle and an ant? Doesn't the ant need a beloved that's an ant? No, 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 no. The ant and the turtle just represent materialistic characteristics that they took so they could work shamanic and alchemical processes to help and assist and save and protect. We conscious with the free will, the CW, right? Conscious with free CWW. That's the new term we're going to be using here, and the internet lingo is the CWW, consciousness with will, free will. Okay, so it's CWFW. That's it. CWFW. Consciousness, just shape and form, take on a physical illusion. Exactly, Dragon. So here we are in ants and turtles temple. So, and again, we're still in our chairs, right? The beloved's still there, in this crystalline, fiery form, and we still have the teacups in our hand, and but we're seated in a circle in their temple, right? And they have a little table over there with 3 teapots, with the Roman numeral 1, 2, and 3 on, cast iron, and you can't. Their faces are an enigma, but you can hear their emotions. You can hear, meaning telepathically. So they're kind of smiling and they're kind of giggling at, how what place and thing and shape and form that were put in, and that they're pretty amazed that we haven't turned into a bowl of jello, that our consciousnesses haven't turned to goo. And then they see the beloved and they go, oh, that's why she's giving them the 3 cups, So they then, we have these cups in our hands, we're kind of clutching them. And they're such amazing cups, most China cups we would have squeezed and, crushed through the stress of what we're going through, but they're still in our hands. And ant comes around and pours in number 1, right? Turtle's right behind, mixing in number 2. And then ant comes around again with 3. And all 3 now elixirs are in our teacups. And they say, Lahayim. We knock it back, and it's like jet fuel, like rocket fuel, like it just, and everything. Now we're still in their temple, and we are going through just like the Akashic record. When you see on the screen on the page how things can like flitter from all the different past lives you've had and all the different things you've done, it's flittering like that, in our mind's eye. But in our mind's eye, things are flittering in front of it. There's ant, there's turtle, and there is the beloved, right? And so we're getting a download, a serious frigging download of all the connections of all of this. And you are getting this download as I speak. Yep. And so you are going through, This is more intense than any kind of drug thing you've had, more intense than any of the shamanic meditations that we've had, more intense than any of the stuff you've seen in your Akashic record. But even though it's flying by faster than you can really, you're getting it. It's like a download. And it's not, it's going into your consciousness. And because it's in your consciousness, not in your brain, not in your mind, not in the Rolodex, it's in your consciousness that has free will. And it is downloading it immediately into your Akashic record. So all of this information is now totally, you can access it at your own leisure. Because that's how you have to look at all this stuff, in your own leisure. You can't do it in this experience, man. This things are flying around. You're getting little glimpses of a enlightened, lightning understanding, Gestalt. Freud calls it Gestalt, lightning understanding. Pow, and then it's flittering on it. Pow, you're getting all these pow. But all the interconnects, all the nitty gritty, all the data, all of the numbers at the bottom of the page, everything is in your Akashic record. I am doing this evening, to get you to step up, tune you up, but you're seeing stuff that, man, you're going to want. All of you guys been wanting to know how to do this, what to do with that, da-da-da. Well, I'm unlocking all the keys here, right? You are seeing, eternities, not just this galactic period, but from the Big Bang on. All those little veils are lifted, all of those doors unlocked, and you are totally safe, meaning you are being immunized, right? No black monster is going to come and get you. You're not going to step on any fly paper. That will stick you for real. You might step on it, but that'll just be a lesson to figure out how to get out of that. That's what jujitsu is, a constant lesson. Well, the Rolodex isn't your Akashic record. The Rolodex is your mind. And if you transfer it there, you'll have a tendency to not really see it clearly. You have to see this stuff through your Akashic record, not through your mind. You have to quiet your mind. Your mind is the home of the Rolodex. It's just got addresses and a few things here and there. And, if you ever had a Rolodex, it takes, if you're not lucky, you'll be turning the sucker around for infinitum. Whereas if you go to your Akashic record, just put your hand on the cover, open it up, and there's the information you want to know. So do not, mix metaphors. Do not use your mind. Your mind is just, a fuse box of your avatar. It has nothing to do with your consciousness. Has nothing to do with your any of your higher planes of existence. And that's why, you have these chakras. Right now in the Piscean age, you're only down in your belly button, right? You're not even there. Most people are in their dick or their ovaries, their clitoris, So if you go in your mind, you're going to end up in your clitoris or your penis. So if you don't want to just continually jerking off, I would not use the Rolodex, right? Use your Akashic record, and that's why if you go into it 3, 4, 5, 10 times a day, guys, when you're in your Akashic record, when you're in your superconscious mind, you can stay there for a year and a half, and then when your eyes open, you blink your imaginary mirror, you realize that in the linear time of this illusion of the material world, it's only been a blink. I'm going in and out of state as we are talking right now, and I'm affecting you right now because you are, in the sanctuary, and as I blink, you're getting this, like almost Morse code to say, oh yes, okay, 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 I'm getting it, I'm getting it, I'm getting it, I'm getting it, okay, I got it, okay. Yep, not the Rolodex, the Akashic record. Here's never here, well, in state. This is true dragon. That's a good point, yep. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. You guys aren't the first. Oh yes. But I have to say, you're the best cadre, the first cadre. The rest were individuals, right? And I couldn't, I wasn't up to my sensei's capabilities until now, and I'm not up to his capabilities, but I am within the context of my, shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist. He was a lot more than that. I've got all those down. I've mastered all those. And by mastering all those, yes, hey, I use this little platform to magically, and I'm not kidding around, magically get a hold of you guys. And here you are. So, yes, you are the first cadre. I've had lots of students, but you're the first cadre, right? So here we are, and we're in Ants and Turtles Sanctuary, right? And the main part of their sanctuary is their consciousness. And I'm going to be quiet now because, yes, and that was amazing. The last question Eden asked, have you ever synchronized a dream time with anybody else, right? And I just gave you the 411 on. Yes, loads of other students, individuals. You're the first cadre. And that's why I brought you here, because I'm going to turn you over to two ascended masters. I mean, these guys are the real deal. They are stronger than everybody else that you've met, stronger than Jesus, Vishnu. There's, Saint Germain right over there. Saint Germain is a Padawan of these two guys. When I say guys, they're not even gender, species. They're like the beloved, but the beloved is an adept. Saint Germain's a Padawan. The beloved is an adept to Master Ant and Master. I should use the right terminology. And whenever you communicate with these two, you should always say Master Ant, Master Turtle. Okay? So I'm going to put you in the swirl. I have the lights over there. Oh, and see the little snake there? Right, that's what I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but see the shadow? Right? So he's right there too, because we're taking him home. He's been here all the time. But he's, in the swirl. He can't affect or harm us. And after last night, there is a solid contract, because that's what this illusion's about, contracts. That side of evil cannot affect us, because we are totally protected by love's co-creation. And all of the other guides and protectors are right here with us. So, we've got quite a sizable army of ascended masters and shaman and senseis to protect you all. And you have all your guides, right? So there's nothing to fear, and I'm going to be quiet, and all the love is in all of us. And what we are doing, and I keep saying, the only way we can overcome this obstacle of the illusion of materialism is we have to get inside it, have to inoculate it, have to bring it home back to love's co-creation. And that's why that little snake is there, because it's not trying to get at us. We are, we're not trying to get it. We are totally surrounding a totally, what's the right word? Just bathing it in love's co-creation of unconditional love. See that clearly. And that's why you're the cadre. You got plenty of time to do your homework. You can, but right now, I'm handing you over to two of the greatest ascended masters. And they don't really share their time with just anybody. So, and 3, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. You have illuminated yourself and taken yourself through your imaginary mirror into your Akashic record. And through your Akashic record, you have brought in great masters, great protection, and we have traveled into a multidimensional vehicle of those chairs and the fuel of those teas. And you are in the temple of more like the Hambu, because it's not really a temple in that you are, bowing down or, that's my God. No, these are ascended masters. The only thing, they would never want to be called that, so you don't have to worship them. That's the word I was looking for. No, you're not worshiping these folks. You serve through them to love's co-creation. See that clearly. Enjoy this class. That is the sound of ants' antennas scraping together. That is the sound of turtles' claws moving across the ground. See it clearly. You are surrounded by love's co-creation, being tutored by 3 of the greatest intellects of consciousness's free will: ant, turtle, and the beloved. See it clearly. Experience it thoroughly. Feel it through every fiber of your being. See it clearly. And the things you are being shown are the interconnects of the hidden hand and all of the losers who think they rule. All of the sad sacks, all of those sacks of ugly water who think they're better than anyone else. All of those kings and queens and all of the irrelevant hidden hands of the ownership class of the pyramid. We have to help them. We have to heal them. And the only way we can do that is in every day and every way we take the piece of the earth and make it stronger through our co-creation with love. And within the context and construct of our Akashic records, along with our three guides, our librarian, animal totem, and guardian angel, within our Akashic record, within the book, within the operating system, the CPU of our text, that CPU is ant, turtle, and our beloved. See this clearly. See those columns holding up the capstone of the pyramid. All that is doing is keeping it from blowing up and destroying everything. That's why they're there. That's why they have for this millennia been encapsulated in those columns. Now, Satan thinks that these two great avatars are imprisoned in those columns. No. That's just where their sanctuary of their choosing is. They're there serving love's co-creation to protect us all. And now, their presence is in your Akashic record. And this evening's journey into your Akashic record through going into state is another gift and tool to augment and enable you to go quicker and quicker into state. You saw how I blinked my eyes, how I went in and out and in and out and in and out of state. You will be able to do that soon. And not in any gizmo magic trick kind of way, but simply as your self-ordained free will conscious will use to get into your Akashic record. So you can get clearer and clearer and further awake and move forward into your ascension, of moving up your chakras, up to your crown chakra. You could do that this evening. You are there this evening. That's where you are. But to stay in that state while you're in the material world, that's going to take some practice. I mean, look at me, 50 years of doing this, and I got a speeding ticket. And I'm still talking about it. Anyway, 3, you're in a deep state of relaxation. You're in the hambu. Look that one up. Of ant and turtle and the eternal love. See it clearly. I'm going to be quiet now, and you'll have another tutorial with the ant, turtle, and your beloved. See it clearly. Remember it totally. Practice with it in your Akashic record. And in this tutorial, your three masters are showing you the historical path of the illusion of the material business world into our present day circumstance, and how it has been same as it always been. So we went from the pre-Babylonian money magic, where we all were connected and we were the last refugees of the pre-Babylonian money magic culture that Plato called Atlantis and Lemuria, but it was more than that. Those were just the refugees. And they were here a number of the passages of millennia. And those were the people that the Old Testament talked about that were 900 years old. But it was irrelevant. I mean, they were immortals, the folks who were keeping, the calendar, they died quicker. So they said, well, mom was around and saw them, and grandma saw them, and great grandma, and and they could count back through their lineage 900 years, but those folks were there a long time. And they had exotic technologies, but it's like giving a monkey a machine gun. They just let us have things that we could handle, because they were trying to get us back into love's co-creation and to get us able to basically get everyone on the bus to get back to love's co-creation. So we could just snap our fingers and pop that bubble, right? So you see the lineage from money magic. Before money magic, everyone was like, living 900 years, could communicate telepathically. There was no one lied, no one stealed, no one cheated. They didn't have to. Everyone shared. We were in a land of abundance, not scarcity. See it clearly. There were no haves and have-nots. Money magic brought that. And where did that come from? Well, there's ant and turtle and the beloved, right? Well, just like Satan, Lucifer, was the highest, grooviest, most beautiful creature. And in the beginning, everything was dark. And then, we chuckleheads of consciousness of free will came along, and Lucifer got really pissed, and with such fiery rage blew through the heavens and created the Big Bang, which put us on, this bubble of illusion, right? So it seems to have been around for, in a linear kind of counting, Mr. Neil deGrasse guy, who took the envelope and is pulling the sock over his head. Somewhere between 16 and 6 billion years, give or take. So that's nothing compared to eternity, So, and like in one of those Star Trek movies where Spock's older brother has done too much acid and sees God and is taking everyone back to God's homestead, and they get there with the Enterprise, and God talks to Jim and everybody, and everyone's like gaga over God. And God says, and I'll get on your spaceship. It'll be like a chariot, and I'll conquer the whole thing. And Jim kind of gets snapped out of the, because he has Ian taken the whole thing. And he snaps out, of his disbelief and goes, wait a minute. What does God need a spaceship for? Ooh, bless me. And that's exactly it. You don't need any of this illusion. And all of this stuff that you're seeing flitter in front of you, the tail that, ant and Turtle and the Beloved are telling you about this millennial, we're in the open window. The Aquarian age is coming. We're coming out of the Piscean age. And, you know, this cadre hasn't appeared before me before. Here you are. That's a good sign. I just started doing this out in the deep green, dropping one of these things for 5 minutes, on my YouTube thing, and had no idea what I was doing. And then it got really cold and it chased me back here, and I had access to this. And I started doing it twice a day, and you showed up. So that's a good thing. That's something out of the ordinary. That's out of the normal, you know, thing that has happened to me over the last 70 years. So this is, that's why the window's open. We have this opportunity. That's why I went back and spent some time looking, in all my old books and my class. I got rid of my 5,000. I have loads of friends who are scholars, and they've got 30,000 books in their thing, and I had 5,000. That was all I needed. But I got rid of all of my stuff, and because I didn't need it, because I came back to my Akashic record. I mean, guys, for 20 years, I was living in the pool of chocolate mousse, and I have a free will, and my avatars, my ascended masters, basically said, well, Al, he needs to do this the only way he's going to step up. Yeah, he's a cheeky monkey. Yeah, he's pretty talented. Yeah, he's got things going on, but he never quite makes that step up. Okay, we'll let him. 20 years. What's that? Nothing. Yeah, we'll let him die. We'll let him get 270 pounds overweight. We'll let him destroy all his joints. We'll let him, you know, be in unbelievable pain after he dies this time. Um, and that should do it. And they're right. And the thing that proves to me that that should do it is that you guys showed up, you know? And I'm here as your sensei, Al Bob. You're the cadre. I'm your sensei. I'm here, and as you become better at this, you become shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist. And, if you stick to this, I'll actually, when I had my mystery school, people just wanted to give me $300 and have me give them, something printed on my computer that said that they were a shaman. Yeah, I'll give you one of those. But not just a shaman. You're a shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic, alchemist. And how you master all of those is by going your Akashic record. All of you already have mastered one or two of these disciplines. It's now my privilege to be your shaman, to assist you to come and put all of these things together. Again, another movie you guys really need to go rent or own is Doctor Strange, because that's another, has a lot of great insights. And when you watch it, shamanic, put it together. That movie Stargate, the TV show Stargate, and this, they're all shamanic ceremonies. And they pretty much were all put together by the U.S. Air Force, right? A very militaristic, very, you know, thing controlled by the hidden hand and the powers that shouldn't be. But within all of that darkness, and it's, all really anti-darkness. That's what Satan's. Okay, maybe I'll just call it satanic illusion. There is this thing called the unexpected consequence, or the ghost in the machine. And that works unbelievably triple double for the the satanic side of things. On the other side, love's co-creation. Once you get into co-creation with love, it's no big deal. It's easy. You just gotta flow right through it. You're that pebble in the pond, making the tsunami of love. So the thing is, we have to wash our little tsunami over the satanic crew. They're not a cadre; they're a crew. That's what mobs are. They're a crew, right? They're not like the Ku Klux Klan. They couldn't be just a clan. They had to be the Ku Klux Klan. That's why I'm pretty much a stickler on the etymology of words and using the right word. And I'm not the school teacher with a ruler. I'm your sensei, Al Bob. So every time I kind of go in the tutorial motif, it's more to entertain and to teach through the entertainment, because that's what a griot does. That's why I'm a griot, because my classroom style is the griot style. Now, I am a shaman, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic, alchemist. I'm all of those things, right? But they are all just things in my toolbox. I have mastered those. Those are all master tools. But the one thing I am as your sensei Al Bob is the griot, right? I am the lowest man on the totem pole of that whole hierarchy. So I'm going to be quiet again, and you're going to see all these connections all the way from Babylon and money magic to Egypt, to Greece, to Rome, to Spain, to England, all the other empires, all the other mobs, all how they're connected under the Illuminati. And all the Illuminati is just a business plan. It's not the leaders, it's not the owners, it's not even the most powerful. Rockefeller, Rothschild, Queen of England, all those other sock puppets. That's all they are, sock puppets, right? They're just sock puppets. They're not even the hierarchy. They're not even in the hierarchy. They're just sock puppets. Now they represent as the hidden hand and as the powers that shouldn't be. But and that's why Donald Trump, start studying Trump, because he is the physical representation of all of that you're watching, that you're seeing in all those little blips that are now totally in depth in your Akashic record of that history of this, epoch. Donald Trump, again, this is why the window's open. He is the total frigging moron, fracking Donald Trump. He is showing us in his tweets, and he can't shut up. He can't be one of those, he's not even a sock puppet, he's a fracking Donald Trump moron. And he's, saying that, I won't even use the word moron, because that's dissing morons. He's a putz. That's what he is. He's a putz. Go look that word up. Putz in Hebrew. Anyway. So I'm going to be quiet, and you're going to see in great detail from, you're going to not only be in the Hambu of Ant and Turtle and the Beloved, but you're also going to be in the energetics of the revolution, right? And see how that was all dark magic. How anybody there, like Jefferson and the boys, when they wrote all those documents and put together our government, they were in state. But after that, they got caught up in the minutia of the distraction of the illusion. And so see that clearly. And that's why, England, they had this revolution. England had the most kick-ass friggin' army on the planet. They could have just stepped on those guys, the revolutionary guys, but they let them win because they didn't want to pay for, administering their colony. They just wanted the stuff. They just wanted to rip everyone off. So what better way to do than to put in a shamanic or magic, they weren't shamans, a magic ceremony where all of the founding fathers and all the people left in America think that they're free. They got a constitution. No, they were stone cold, killing machine slaves to the ownership class that was in the illusion of the kings and queens of Europe. Again, those guys were just in the management class, all the kings and queens, right? That's why they had revolutions. That's why they were, whacked. They had to, make a rebranding, and why how the royal family got to stay in power. They rebranded by making the Anglo-American connection. We were their bitches. We were their unlimited piggy bank of resources, right? And unbridled, unlimited killing machines. We went and fought all their wars for them. And you see that clearly. And you see that the Civil War was okay. So from the War of 1812 to the Civil War, there was too many unexpected consequences because so many people were coming from Europe and everywhere else. They were mixing into the alchemical, formula of the United States through the Constitution, which was an alchemical, sitchin. That is a frigging sitchin. The Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the other things were all alchemical things created by love's co-creation and then put in these guys' minds. They weren't geniuses. It was just they were autonomic writing this stuff. And love's co-creation knew that other people, not the same monkey slaves from England, would come and throw off the balance, right? And so that's why we continually have to have wars to try and put us back into being the slaves of the corporate owners, right? And they're doing everything they can. They're chemtrailing us, they're burning California to the ground. They are, basically, once, our money was, once the Federal Reserve got here and the IRS got here, and our money became worthless, that was the other, so they are trying to take us over bit by bit. And you're seeing this clearly, right? It's all going down in your Akashic record, seeing it clearly. And the Civil War was a place where France and England thought they could take back America, right? And the best way to, again, have a war against somebody is you basically, have the family fight itself, so that's what the Civil War was about. It took them 60 years to, with magic, to change people to fight each other where they really, should stick together. So that happened. And then from the Civil War until, the Spanish American War, then wanted to turn America into that little virus that's the imperial, First it was Mesopotamia, Babylon, Egypt, Greece, Rome, Spain, England. It's the same virus that goes through all of these things, right? They're all called the Reich. And, then England, then America, then Nazis, And all the countries that had it spiritually in them to be pure, or not pure, but better, let's say that, better, like Russia, because of the Orthodox Christian Coptic church in Russia. That is an amazing thing. And that's why Russia had to be shackled with socialism and communism and the oligarchs, right? And the Putin, and he's a corrupt piece of crap, but somewhere in the back of his head, just like Donald Trump, I mean, they're both like mirrored images of each other. See it clearly, you know, and somewhere that they don't know, their narcissistic ego is like not letting them get away from the flypaper, but their higher conscious is getting stronger and stronger, and they're doing things in the strangest of ways that are opening this window, right? So we have a real opportunity here. And then you guys show up, the cadre, right? So, and you're not the only ones. I have there are other Sensei Albobs around this planet, and they're called different things, but they're collecting their own cadres. You're not the only ones. You're not alone. There are others, just like, Luke and Leia. I loved it when Obi-Wan on the other side was talking to Yoda when he didn't finish his tutorial, and he's going to go off and save his friends. And Yoda says, well, you can go off and do that, but that's, you should probably stay here and really, get sharp on this and then go save them. But you go off now, oh, it's not going to, it'll be what it is. So, all things are as should be. And he shoots off, and Yoda just kind of goes, whatever. And Obi-Wan on the other says, no, there's another one. And there's more. There was more than Luke and his sister, because his buddy Han and all the rest of the clan. And that's what they were, clan. That's small. And then the girl. I mean, they're all part of that energetic, and that's what you are. And you are, the clan within the cohort. The cadre, all our relations. And that's why this is just a sandbox. And I am just your Sensei Al-Bob, and this was one of your higher level tutorials. You couldn't get to see this one until you did the others. Okay. And 3. You're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused. Totally focused. Rotate. Okay. Which way are we rotating? Okay. Yep. Yep. Long ago. Yep. Yep. When the going gets weird, the weird turn professional. Yep. But you know who Hunter S. Thompson, before Hunter S. Thompson, who a woman named what was her name? Louise Etra. Louise Etra came up with that one. She used to hang out with Hunter, and she told him that. Go look up the Rudd Etra synthesizer. It was the first, before digital, before Christine Barton created the algorithm that is now, CGI. Christine and Louise were the, in the before the Silicon Valley. They were in California working for, I'm not supposed to say, but anyway, Christine got her PhD. Her PhD thesis was the lamp in Pixar, right? And those two girls were smarter than anybody, right? And so in that whole scene, right, of Grandpa Xerox, Xerox should have owned laptops. They invented the first laptop. They invented the mouse. They invented all of these things. And then when Grandpa Xerox went to his board in New York and said, "Oh, okay, we're going to own the new digital horizon of the internet." And they go, "What's the internet?" And he said, "It's this thing that DARPA has, but it's going to be right, and we're gonna own the world. It's just gonna." And they said, "No, we do copiers. IBM does computers," and they wouldn't go along with him. So he went back to these kids, Mr. Microsoft, Mr. Apple, Mr. All these kids who are, oh, they're the brilliant ones who started Silicon Valley. No, Grandpa Xerox did. And his two greatest students were Christine and Louise. And Louise came up with that one. When things get weird, the weird get professional. And she told it to Hunter S. Thompson. It was the same party that we were all tripping. And, you know, why Christine, I was her boyfriend, and I wasn't one of these chuckleheads, computer boys and girls. And Christine and Louise weren't chuckleheads. They were like luminescent geniuses. And Louise had the greatest sense of humor, and she was doing so. The red etcher synthesizer, her husband, and women couldn't own things like this. So Christine makes this algorithm, which is the backbone of all digital graphics. And so they gave her some money, and they gave her a PhD, and they gave her a pretty good job, but on the other coast. And they didn't diss her as bad as they dissed all the other women. It was like Madame Curie. She got the Nobel Prize for discovering radiation along with her husband. And they just wanted to give it to her husband. They said, no, she's the one who did it. I was just along for a ride. I was just keeping her company. And Christine and Louise, the digital domain that we have, they invented it. But because in those days, in the 60s and 70s, women couldn't have, they had to stay home and have babies. Well, these girls weren't going to do that. And Christine never really, I don't know if she's got a guy now. I was I was the closest thing she had to that, right? Because every time she opened her heart, guys would step all over it. And I didn't do that. Now, the one thing that happens with me in relationships is it's great. It's great. We're doing great things. We spend 6 months, a year, 10 years, 15 years together. But at a certain point, people, this is part of the problem of our psyches, which is different from our consciousness. And we want what we think we want. JB is a great example. I keep saying he's the canary in the coal mine, and he wants his family back, but that ship has sailed. But if he keeps staying in the same, his anchor has fallen down. He can't move forward. If he could move forward, he might even get his family back. And that's why I've tried to assist him. And by being here with him, why I do it, I mean, I could go someplace else and have a nicer room than this right now. But, at this second, no. But, if I put my mind to it and, navigate to the situation, yes. And I did. Each time he threw me out, I actually found some really unbelievable thing. But it, took, time and space. But anyway, we've been here 2 hours and 34 minutes, and I'm like conking out here because I do this. This is a shamanic thing. I kind of spin up energy, and a lot of it comes from me. So, and even though I'm in other planes of existence, are we still there? Are we connected? Are you coming back? Anyway, So 3. You've got a lot, I don't know if I can stuff anything more into your heads and consciousnesses. And right now, you constantly stay in your Rolodex, not constantly. You do go in your Akashic record, but you got to start switching that over. You got to start being in your Akashic record more than less. Okay? Do, 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 do. So, 3. Conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. And you're in the hambu of great masters. And they know you and will watch out for you and be there for you. Right? And so you're coming back to your avatar. Right? You're coming back to your avatar. Coming back into your body. And 2, you're in a deep state of relaxation. You're coming back into your bodies. You feel your bodies. You're stretching. You're moving. You're breathing. You're connected. Yep, it felt good. Yep, I had to eliminate. I was held a lot of your stuff, so I had to let it go. Didn't want to make a mess, but it's just a natural part of the bag of water. It's nothing to be too bent out of shape about. You can even have your teacher do it in the middle of a shamanic ceremony. I mean, the Indians did it. The Vedas did it. Jesus did it. So it is 2 hours, 37 minutes, and 27 seconds. So I think I'm going to say, sweet dreams, sweet dreams. So, guys, this is, what do you think, right? There's 8 of you. This affected you pretty deeply. That's why I'm eliminating right now. I'm eliminating a lot of things that you didn't get to eliminate into your Akashic record, right? Your Sensei Albab goes that extra mile for you guys. Yep. Okay. We can talk about clones in the morning or the afternoon. Maybe both. I have enough stories about clones that might take both morning and afternoon. Right? So, that's what we'll do. Both days will be about clones, and I will tell you stories that will get your minds going, So in the evening, we can go even deeper, and you guys can bring more salient questions, right? Yeah, boy, there was a lot of crap in you guys. But you knew that too. And it's not it's nobody's fault. We live in this polluted crap world. It did, Tucker. It did. I feel it from here. Good. Good luck. Fish, all good things will come to you. You will receive everything you want and you need. Okay. It jumped 5 seconds just in that little bit of talking. That's what I love about Discordian time. It's not linear. 40. Okay, that's it. I'm going to say goodnight because we just hit a very interesting time. Unless you guys got more things to say. Yeah, exactly. Guys, go back and listen to this. There was a lot of information downloaded. And you know what you could do would be very interesting. Take your little magic phone and go back to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob and go to this show and get it up and running, and then go into state and look in your Akashic record. Because you hear me say things, you will see it in the Akashic record, and when you remember the things you chatted and the things you saw, it will be triple stronger. And it will, when you do this, you're looking at your Akashic record, it will be like explode open. And more information from all different dimensions will be put down. That's why you got those 28 little screens around the big screen. You will see all this other stuff. And again, it's all in your Akashic record. You can retrieve it anytime you want, at your leisure. I beg, yes, I have come down and. Okay, gang. It's 2 hours and 41 minutes. 2 hours and 2:42:02. That's a good time to go. Love you guys. See you tomorrow morning. And tomorrow is Clone Day. Clone Day, Clone Day, Clone Day. Clone Day, Clone Day, Clone Day, Clone Day, Clone Day, Clone Day. Okay, gang. I love you. Namaste. All the hearts. To